linked in sequence, a sign of deep worry among his kind. 12 outposts had gone silent in the past month. No distress calls, no survivors, just silence. "Admiral, you need to see this," said Intelligence Officer Laura, her thin blue fingers sliding a data tablet across the smooth metal table. "The pattern is clear now." Drek studied the map. The attacks were not random. They were methodical, cutting deeper into Alliance space with each strike. Whatever this threat was, it thought. It planned. "Have we identified any ships?" asked Drek. "None, sir. They leave nothing behind." Laura's voice trembled slightly. "Not even bodies." The Alliance Council meeting that followed was tense. 26 species represented, all afraid. They named the unknown enemy the Terror, a simple name for a force that moved like death itself through their territory. "We must combine our fleets," insisted Council Leader Marn, his crystalline form shimmering under the lights. "No single world can stand against this." Far from this meeting, on the small research outpost on planet Eridus, things were quiet. The outpost sat on a rocky cliff overlooking an alien sea of purple liquid that smelled like metal. Lead scientist Kell adjusted the long-range scanners, his scaled hands moving with practiced ease. "I'm picking up something strange," he called to his assistant, an unknown ship design approaching from Sector 7. The ship was sleek and practical. Not beautiful like Alliance vessels, but sturdy, built for function, not show. The small team of scientists gathered around the viewscreen, curious about this new visitor from beyond their charted space. "Establishing communication," said Kell, sending standard greeting protocols. The screen flickered, and for the first time, the Alliance members saw a human face. The creature had only 2 eyes, skin with no scales or crystals, and hair on top of its head. "This is Captain Tom of the Earth ship Pathfinder," said the human. "We come in peace and exploration. This is humanity's first journey beyond our solar system." The scientists were fascinated. A new species, unknown to the Alliance, venturing into space for the first time. But before they could begin proper first contact protocols, the station's alarms blared. "Multiple ships entering the system," reported the security officer, panic rising in his voice. "They match no known configuration." Captain Tom's face showed confusion on the still-open channel. "Is everything okay? We're detecting several large vessels approaching your position." Kell felt cold fear wash over him. "They're here. The Terror has found us." The first attack came without warning or demand for surrender. The research station's shields collapsed under weapons fire, unlike anything the Alliance had ever developed. The station rocked, throwing scientists to the floor as atmosphere began to vent from multiple breaches. "We need to evacuate," shouted Kell, helping injured colleagues toward the escape pods. On the Pathfinder, Captain Tom watched in horror. "What's happening down there?" he demanded. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "the attacking ships have deployed boarding parties to the station. They're killing everyone." Tom's jaw tightened. He was a peaceful explorer, but he had also been a soldier. "Prep the rescue shuttles. Arm the crew." "Captain," his first officer objected, "we're outgunned. There are at least 6 warships down there. And there are innocent people dying," Tom replied. "Humanity doesn't turn its back on that. Ever." The Pathfinder dove toward the planet, evading fire with maneuvers that defied the pursuing terror ships. No Alliance vessel would have attempted such a reckless approach. As Kell and the survivors huddled in a sealed section of the failing station, they heard strange sounds outside the door. Not the methodical approach of the Terror, but something else. The door burst open, and creatures in strange suits rushed in, weapons ready. "We're from Earth," shouted the lead human. "If you want to live, come with us now." Kell had never seen such creatures before. He didn't know if he could trust them. But as the station died around them, and the Terror closed in, these humans offered something the Terror never did: a chance for survival. move with surprising speed. Explosions rocked the structure as terror forces blasted through defenses with cold efficiency. "This way!" shouted a human female, her weapon raised. The name patch on her suit read Martinez. She fired 3 quick shots at a shadowy figure that appeared at a junction ahead. The figure dropped without a sound. Kel had never seen combat up close. The Alliance had enjoyed peace for generations. These humans, though, they moved like they understood war. "The docking bay is compromised," reported another human through their communication devices. "We need an alternate route." "Maintenance shaft on level 3, gasped Kel, struggling to keep up. "It leads directly to the landing pad." Captain Tom's voice crackled through their comms. "We've got terror ships moving to cut us off. Whatever you're doing down there, do it faster." The group reached the maintenance shaft, a narrow tube that would barely fit the larger aliens. Engineer Jack, a stocky human with quick hands, forced the door open and motioned everyone inside. "Ladies and gentlemen, I suggest we hurry," he said with a strange calmness that seemed out of place amid the chaos. As the last survivor entered the shaft, a wall exploded inward. 3 terror soldiers stepped through the breach. They were tall, with smooth gray skin that seemed to blend with their armor. Their faces were mostly featureless except for large black eyes that showed no emotion. Jack shoved Kel into the shaft. "Go." The survivors didn't see what happened next, but they heard it. The sounds of struggle, shots fired, and then Jack appearing at the entrance, breathing hard, his suit stained with both red human blood and a strange black fluid. "Move," he ordered, no longer calm. Outside, the landing pad was exposed to Iridus's harsh elements. Toxic rain falling from an angry purple sky. The human shuttle waited, engines running. Terror ships circled above, firing energy weapons that carved glowing lines through the air. "We're not going to make it," whispered one of the scientists, a small insectoid being named Plex. "Watch us," replied Martinez with fierce determination. The group made a desperate sprint across the open pad. Terror soldiers emerged from multiple directions, firing weapons that disintegrated anything they touched. The humans returned fire, creating a protective corridor for the aliens. Captain Tom's voice came through again. "Enemy ships are moving into position to block our exit vector. We need to launch in 30 seconds, or we're all dead." As they neared the shuttle, a direct hit from a terror ship above sent debris crashing down. Jack pushed 2 scientists out of the way but was struck and fell hard. Kel, surprising himself, turned back and helped drag the injured human aboard. The shuttle doors sealed as weapons fire pinged against its hull. The pilot, hands moving in a blur across controls, lifted off with a roar of engines. "Brace yourselves," he warned. "This is going to hit rough." The shuttle shot upward, weaving between terror ships with maneuvers that seemed impossible for something so bulky. Inside, the aliens clung to restraints as G-forces threatened to crush them. The humans, however, seemed to endure the strain better. "Their biology is adapted to high environments," observed Kel as he helped bandage Jack's wound. "Fascinating. Thanks for the help back there," Jack said through gritted teeth. "Didn't expect that." "Neither did I," admitted Kel. The Pathfinder appeared ahead, its weapons firing to clear a path for the returning shuttle. As they approached, terror ships converged from all directions. "We're not going to outrun them," reported the shuttle pilot. On the main ship, Captain Tom made a decision. "Engineer, prepare the jump drive." "Sir, it's not calibrated for this close to a gravity well. The risk is better than certainty of death. Do it." As the shuttle docked with frantic speed, the Pathfinder's strange engines began to glow with blue energy unknown to Alliance technology. Terror ships closed in, energy weapons charging. Jump successful in 3, 2, 1. The aliens barely had time to register what happened. Space itself seemed to fold around them, stars stretching into lines, and suddenly they were somewhere else entirely. The terror ships, the planet, everything was gone. In the ship's medical bay, Kel watched the humans tend to their wounded with practiced efficiency. These creatures had saved them when the mighty Alliance could not. They had faced the terror and escaped. "You should rest," said Captain Tom, entering the bay. "You're safe now." "For the moment," replied Kel. "But I must contact Admiral Drek. The Alliance needs to know about you, Captain. I believe humanity might be exactly what we've been looking for." At 2 kilometers long, the Alliance ship represented the combined technological achievement of 26 species. The Pathfinder, barely 100 meters from bow to stern, looked like a toy in comparison. "That's large," said Captain Tom, staring at the view screen. "The Admiral commands the most powerful ship in the Alliance fleet," Kel explained. "It can destroy a small moon." Communications Officer Lisa adjusted her headset. "They're hailing us, Captain, and scanning us very thoroughly." "Let them look," Tom replied. "We have nothing to hide. Open a channel." Admiral Drek's four-eyed face appeared on screen. His expression was unreadable to human eyes, but his voice carried authority. "Unknown vessel, you are carrying Alliance citizens. Prepare to be boarded." "With respect, Admiral," Tom replied firmly. "We rescued those citizens when your forces couldn't. We'll dock with your ship as invited guests, not as prisoners." A long silence followed. The aliens aboard the Pathfinder held their breath. Finally, Drek spoke again. "Very well. You may dock in Bay 4. An escort will meet you." The docking procedure was tense. Armed Alliance soldiers surrounded the airlock as Captain Tom led his small delegation out. Engineer Jack and Dr. Anna joined him, along with Kel and the other rescued scientists. The aliens in the receiving party stared openly at the humans, some with disgust, others with curiosity. A tall, willowy being stepped forward. "I am Intelligence Officer Laura. The Admiral awaits you in the council chamber." The walk through the celestial harmony revealed a ship built for beauty as much as function. Sweeping corridors with living plants, gravity that shifted subtly to accommodate different species' needs, and technology that seemed to blend seamlessly with organic materials. "Your ship is impressive," offered Jack, trying to break the silence. "It represents the pinnacle of peaceful cooperation," replied Laura. "Something your species knows little about, according to our initial scans of your planet's broadcasts." Tom smiled thinly. "Don't judge us too quickly." The council chamber held representatives from 12 species, with Admiral Drek at the head of a curved table. The humans stood before them, suddenly aware of how alien they appeared. "Our scans indicate your species possesses an unusual biology," began one counselor, a being made of what looked like living crystal. "Your endocrine system produces chemicals during stress that increase performance rather than diminish it." "Adrenaline," explained Dr. Anna. "It's part of our fight-or-flight response." "You fight better when afraid?" asked another counselor, sounding disturbed. "Not afraid," Tom corrected. "Challenged." Admiral Drek leaned forward. "You challenged the terror directly. No Alliance species would have attempted such a rescue. It would have been deemed illogical. Where I come from, we don't leave people behind," Tom said simply. "It's not about logic." The council exchanged glances. Military strategist Mike, another human who had joined from the Pathfinder, stepped forward with a data device. "We've analyzed your encounters with the Terror," he said. "Your ships are technically superior, but your tactics are predictable. You fight by the book." "And humans don't?" asked Laura. Mike smiled. "We burn the book when necessary." He activated a holographic display showing simulated battle scenarios. The Alliance representatives watched with growing interest as he demonstrated unconventional human warfare tactics, feints, sacrifices, and unpredictable maneuvers. "Your species evolved on a planet of predators," observed Drek. "You became the apex predator through persistence and adaptation." "Exactly," said Dr. Anna. "Humans can't run as fast as a cheetah or fight as powerfully as a bear, but we can track prey for days without stopping. We adapt, we improvise, and we never give up." A quiet murmur ran through the council. Kel spoke up from where he stood with the rescued scientists. "The Terror destroyed 3 more colony worlds while we've been meeting," he said. "They're moving faster now, as if they know we're planning something." Tom turned to Admiral Drek. "We've shown you how humans fight. Now let us show you how humans win." The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he considered. Finally, he rose to his full height, towering over the humans. "Captain, your species is primitive, violent, and completely unpredictable," he said gravely. Then, unexpectedly, he extended a hand in what he had learned was a human gesture. "Those may be exactly the qualities we need right now." These fragments for months, the humans approached the task differently. Instead of scanning with advanced devices, Engineer Jack simply took things apart. "This isn't just technology," Jack said, holding up a twisted piece of metal that seemed to have veins running through it. "It's alive." Or it was. Science Officer Paul nodded, examining a different fragment under a microscope. "These cells are unlike anything on Earth, but they're definitely biological. The Terror ships are partly grown, not just built." Admiral Drek watched with his 4 eyes blinking in different patterns. "We suspected as much, but couldn't confirm it." "You were looking for either machines or creatures," Paul explained. "The Terror is both." In a secure laboratory aboard the Celestial Harmony, Dr. Anna studied a Terror drone that had been recovered mostly intact. It lay on an examination table, its gray body open to reveal a complex mix of organic tissue and mechanical parts. "No fear response," she noted, pointing to what appeared to be its brain. "No pleasure centers either. It's designed for pure function, without emotional distractions." "So psychological warfare would be useless," said Laura, who stood nearby taking notes. "Exactly. You can't scare something that can't feel fear." Captain Tom entered the lab, followed by military strategist Mike. "We need to understand them better," Tom said. "We need eyes inside their operation." "You're suggesting infiltration?" asked Admiral Drek, his voice rising slightly. "Impossible. We've lost every scout ship we've sent." Mike spread out a star chart on a nearby table. "Not infiltration. Capture. We let them take us." The silence in the room was heavy. Finally, Laura spoke. "That's suicide." "High risk," Tom admitted. "But we've studied the Terror ship's patterns. They don't destroy all vessels they encounter. Some are captured intact, presumably to study the technology." "And the crews?" asked Drek. Tom's expression darkened. "That's what we need to find out." The plan came together quickly. A small Alliance scout ship, modified with human stealth technology, would appear damaged in the path of an approaching Terror fleet. Aboard would be a joint team of human and Alliance special forces, along with communications specialist Lisa, who had developed a device to hack into Terror systems. "We transmit what we find before they discover us," Tom explained to the nervous Alliance Council members. "Even if we don't make it back, you'll have valuable intelligence." "Your species willingly accepts suicide missions?" asked a crystalline counselor, sounds of distress coming from its vibrating form. "We prefer to think of it as high risk, high reward," Mike replied with a tight smile. 2 days later, the modified scout ship floated in space, its engines purposely damaged to appear vulnerable. The human and Alliance team waited in tense silence as Terror ships approached. "They're scanning us," reported Lisa from her station. 5 minutes until they're in range." Tom checked his weapon one last time. The Alliance soldiers watched him with a mixture of fear and admiration. "Remember," he told the team, "our priority is information. We get in, we gather data, we try to get out. If that fails, we transmit what we have and take as many of them with us as possible." The Terror ships surrounded them faster than expected. A tractor beam locked onto the scout ship, pulling it toward the largest vessel. "They're taking us in," Lisa whispered. just as we hoped. But something was wrong. As soon as the scout ship was secured in what appeared to be a docking bay, alarm sounds began blaring throughout the terror vessel. "They know," shouted an Alliance soldier. "They detected us somehow." Terror drones poured into the docking bay, their weapons ready. The team took defensive positions as the scout ship's hatch was forcibly opened. "Plan B," Tom said grimly, firing at the first drone to appear. "Lisa, start the download now. Everyone else, buy her time." The battle was brutal and short. The terror forces seemed particularly aggressive, focusing most of their fire on the humans rather than the Alliance soldiers. "They're targeting us specifically," yelled Mike as he dragged a wounded Alliance soldier behind cover. "Why?" An emergency meeting with world leaders, bringing along Admiral Drek and Intelligence Officer Laura as representatives of the Galactic Alliance. Earth's governments gathered quickly, understanding the gravity of first contact with alien life. The meeting took place in a secure underground facility. Screens showed the faces of leaders from nations across the planet. Some looked afraid, others curious, but all were paying close attention as Captain Tom explained the situation. "The terror has destroyed dozens of advanced worlds," he said, standing tall at the podium. "They're methodical, ruthless, and seemingly unstoppable, until they met humans." Admiral Drek stepped forward, his large form causing murmurs among the human officials who had never seen an alien before. "Your species represents something unique in our experience," he said carefully. "You possess qualities that may be effective against this enemy." The United Earth Defense Minister, General Bill, a weathered man with gray hair and serious eyes, stood up. "Captain Tom was sent on an exploration mission, not to commit our planet to an interstellar war." "With respect, Minister," Tom replied, "the war is coming whether we want it or not. The terror doesn't negotiate or coexist. They consume everything in their path." Laura activated a holographic display showing the terror's path of destruction through Alliance space. "At their current pace, they will reach your solar system within 2 years." A heavy silence fell over the room. Finally, the Secretary General spoke. "What exactly did you discover on that terror ship? What makes them fear humans specifically?" Lisa stepped forward with her data tablet. "According to the records we recovered, the terror visited Earth approximately 15,000 years ago. They attempted to establish a foothold but were driven back by primitive human tribes." "That's impossible," said a skeptical official. "Humans had stone tools then. How could they defeat an advanced species?" "Not with technology," explained Dr. Anna. "With adaptation and sheer determination. The terror's records describe humans as the prey that hunts back. While other species surrendered when faced with superior technology, early humans apparently kept fighting, adapting their tactics, never giving up despite overwhelming losses." "They're a hive mind," added Paul. "They think collectively, logically. But human unpredictability and our emotional responses confuse them. We don't always make the logical choice. Sometimes we sacrifice ourselves for others. Sometimes we fight when we should retreat." General Bill stood again, his expression thoughtful. "I think it's time we show our visitors something." He nodded to an aide who tapped commands into a tablet. A large screen displayed a satellite view of Earth, then zoomed in to reveal hidden installations across the planet. Launch facilities, orbital defenses, and massive ships under construction. "We've been preparing for possible extraterrestrial threats since the Cold War," General Bill explained. "Not officially, of course. Small percentages of military budgets from dozens of nations, redirected to a unified defense program." Admiral Drek's 4 eyes widened. "You built these ships without achieving regular space travel." "We achieved it," corrected the general. "We just didn't announce it. Humanity has always been cautious about what lies beyond our world." Captain Tom looked stunned. "I had no idea." "You weren't meant to," said the general. "The Pathfinder mission was public. This program wasn't." The Earth leaders began discussing strategy, with General Bill outlining Earth's defensive capabilities. The defense fleet included over 200 ships of various sizes, all built with potential alien conflict in mind. "Your technology is primitive by Alliance standards," noted Laura, examining the specifications. "But your weapons are creative. Humans have always been good at finding new ways to fight." The general replied grimly. "It's not something we're proud of, but it might save us now." Admiral Drek addressed the gathering. "The Alliance can provide technological upgrades to your vessels. In return, we need your tactical expertise and your human perspective." The Secretary General looked around the room, gauging the reactions of world leaders. One by one, they nodded their agreement. "Humanity has spent its history fighting itself," she said. "Perhaps now we have something better to do with those skills." She turned to Admiral Drek and extended her hand. "The people of Earth will stand with the Galactic Alliance against the Terror." As the meeting concluded, Captain Tom found himself standing with Dr. Anna, looking at the revealed shipyards on the monitors. "All this time," Anna said quietly, "we were preparing for the worst." Sun. It was home to over 4 billion Alliance citizens, and now it was surrounded by terror ships. The joint Human-Alliance fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 100 Alliance vessels in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with advanced metals unknown to Earth science. Alongside them, 200 human ships, smaller, cruder in appearance, but modified with Alliance technology and bristling with weapons. On the bridge of the flagship, now renamed Unity, Captain Tom stood beside Admiral Drek. The human wore the new Joint Forces uniform, while maintaining his Earth military rank. "The Terror fleet outnumbers us 3-1, reported Laura from her station. "Their ships are concentrating fire on the planet's shield generators." "Standard Terror tactics," said Admiral Drek. "Methodical elimination of defenses before ground invasion." Tom nodded to Communications Officer Lisa. "Send the signal to Commander Dave's squad." On a dozen smaller human vessels at the fleet's edge, crews prepared for what many Alliance strategists had called a suicide mission. Commander Dave, a veteran of Earth's Special Forces, addressed his team through the comm system. "Remember your training," he said calmly. "The Terror expects logical attack patterns. We're giving them anything but that." "Strike force ready," reported his second-in-command. "Weapons hot." Dave took a deep breath. "Execute Operation Hornet's Nest." Instead of moving as a unified force, the human strike vessels scattered in seemingly random directions. Some accelerated to dangerous speeds, while others cut engines entirely, drifting on momentum. To an observer, it looked like chaos, ships malfunction or crews panicking. The Terror fleet, detecting the approaching Alliance armada, maintained their perfect formation. Their ships began to pivot methodically to face the new threat. "They're taking the bait," said Tom, watching the tactical display. "They're repositioning to meet our main force head-on." What happened next confused even the Alliance observers. The scattered human ships suddenly accelerated from multiple directions, targeting seemingly random terror vessels. They struck hard and fast, weapons fire concentrated on specific points, rather than spread across enemy shields as Alliance tactics dictated. "What are they doing?" asked an Alliance officer. "Their attack pattern makes no sense." "That's the point," said military strategist Mike with a grim smile. "The Terror expects logical responses. Predicting 12 ships moving in 12 different patterns requires 12 times the processing power." On Commander Dave's ship, alarms blared as they skimmed dangerously close to a Terror cruiser, weapons firing continuously at a single point on its hull. "Keep pressing the weak spot," he ordered. As soon as the Terror ship's shields failed locally, his vessel veered away at maximum thrust, another human ship immediately taking its place to continue the assault. "The Terror ships are breaking formation," reported Laura, surprise evident in her voice. They're trying to pursue individual human vessels." "Now," ordered Admiral Drek. The main Alliance fleet surged forward, their perfect formation suddenly shifting into patterns learned from human tacticians. Instead of dividing fire equally among targets, they concentrated overwhelming force on the terror ships that had broken ranks. Engineer Jack's voice came through the comm from the engineering section. "Neural disruptor ready, Captain." "Deploy," ordered Tom. From the Unity, a strange pulse of energy spread outward, not targeting terror ship systems, but broadcasting a pattern based on human brain activity. The terror vessels nearest to the pulse began to move erratically. "It's working," exclaimed Jack. "Their biomechanical systems are rejecting the human neural patterns." The battle shifted dramatically. Terror ships, usually coordinated with perfect precision, began to move independently, some even firing on each other in confusion. The hive mind that had made them so effective was now experiencing something new: chaos. "They're retreating," called out an Alliance officer as several terror ships began to pull away from the planet. But victory came at a cost. Dozens of human ships had been destroyed in the attack runs. Commander Dave's voice crackled through a damaged comm system. "Main objective achieved. Terror formation broken. But we've lost almost 40% of our strike force." Tom's face was grim but determined. "Standard human casualty rates in high-risk operations. We knew the cost." Specialists. They watched through viewports as the massive vessel tumbled slowly toward Nexus, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from multiple breaches in its elegant hull. "That ship wasn't built for atmospheric entry," said Engineer Jack over the comm. "Its structural integrity is already failing. We have maybe 20 minutes before it breaks apart completely." The lead shuttle pilot, a woman named Rodriguez, guided her craft toward a damaged docking port. "I can get us attached, but it won't be pretty," she warned as she maneuvered through floating debris. Metal screeched against metal as the shuttle forced a connection. Emergency seals expanded to create an imperfect airlock. Tom led the first team through, weapons ready. The interior of the Alliance ship was dark, emergency lights casting long shadows down curved corridors. Artificial gravity fluctuated, causing the rescue team to sometimes float momentarily before being pulled back down. "Life signs?" Tom asked, checking his scanner. "Multiple readings 2 decks below," replied a medic. "And something else. Non-Alliance biosignatures moving through the ship." Tom's expression darkened. The terror sent boarding parties. "Let's move." The team made their way deeper into the ship, encountering signs of battle, scorch marks on walls, fallen Alliance crew members. At a junction, they heard sounds of combat ahead. "Weapons free," ordered Tom. "Remember, precision fire only. We have friendlies in the area." They rounded a corner to find a group of Alliance security officers in a defensive position, exchanging fire with terror boarders. The terror forces moved with mechanical precision, advancing methodically despite taking casualties. "Covering fire," shouted Tom. The human team unleashed a barrage that temporarily drove the terror troops back. An Alliance officer, bleeding from a wound to his shoulder, looked up in surprise. "Humans, you came back for us." "That's what we do," Tom replied, helping the officer to his feet. "Where are the command staff?" "Emergency shelter, 1 level down. The terror forces are trying to break through." The journey to the shelter was a fighting retreat. More terror forces converged on their position, seeming to focus particularly on the humans. In the confined spaces of the ship's corridors, the battle became intensely personal. The Alliance officers witnessed humans fighting with a ferocity they had never seen before, not with mechanical efficiency like the terror, but with raw determination and adaptability. When a terror soldier knocked Jack's weapon away, the engineer didn't hesitate. He tackled the creature, using a tool from his belt as an improvised weapon. When standard tactics failed, the human shifted seamlessly to alternatives, never giving up even when injured. Finally, they reached the emergency shelter. Admiral Dreck's family and several high-ranking Alliance officials were inside, along with wounded crew members. Tom's team immediately began evacuation procedures, prioritizing the injured. "The ship's structural integrity is down to 12%, warned Jack, checking a nearby console. "We need to move faster." They were midway through the evacuation when the ship lurched violently. Metal groaned as an entire section tore away, vanishing into the atmosphere below. "Final shuttle run," Tom announced. "Anyone who can walk, help those who can't." As the last group prepared to leave, sensors detected more terror forces converging on their position. Tom made a quick decision. "Jack, get them to the shuttle. I'll hold the terror here and buy you time." "Captain, that's an order," Tom finished firmly. "Go." Jack hesitated, then nodded once. He understood. This was what humans did. The last shuttle detached from the dying ship with everyone except Tom aboard. Through the viewport, Admiral Dreck's child watched as the human captain stood alone in the corridor, weapon ready as shadows approach. Hours later, in the aftermath of the battle, the Alliance human fleet had driven the Terror from Nexus. The cost had been high. Dozens of ships lost, thousands of lives sacrificed. But for the first time in recorded history, the Terror had been defeated in a major engagement. In the quiet of the Unity's conference room, Admiral Dreck addressed the combined command staff. All eyes turned to the empty chair where Captain Tom would have sat. "One human," the Admiral said, his voice unusually emotional, "gave his life so that my family and our leaders might live. I have studied your species, but I did not truly understand you until today." The door slid open, and heads turned in shock as a battered, bloodied Captain Tom limped in, supported by a medical officer. His uniform was torn, his face bruised, but his eyes were clear and determined.